So Israel at this moment, this is what it says, and it has been saying it for the last 48 hours. It says that it is poised to launch an attack into the northern half of Gaza. In the last 48 hours as we speak, Israel has been carrying out small raids to try and probe the kind of resistance they can expect from the Hamas fighters. Now, what is almost certain is that if there is a large-scale incursion by the Israelis into the Gaza Strip, there will be a humanitarian catastrophe, because what this would involve is that there would be street fighting in what is arguably one of the most densely populated territories anywhere on planet Earth. Now, the IDF has asked all the Palestinian people in northern Gaza to flee. It's also, for its part, trying to evacuate the Israeli residents from near the Gaza border town of Sderot. The residents are being moved to places such as Eilat and Jerusalem, and some are even being taken away to Tel Aviv, so that when the Hamas rockets strike, there'll be fewer casualties. Now, Israel, as part of its psychological warfare, is dropping leaflets in the northern part of Gaza. The Israeli Defense Forces have announced that they will not target the corridors, the safe corridors that they claim that the Gazan residents can use to evacuate towards the southern part of the city. But that corridor has now ended as we speak. So as darkness descends, that is when the war gets much more intense. Now, all of this is happening on the back of this massive military deployment in southern Israel. The United States of America continues to arm Israel with more and more weapons. The Americans started sending in weapons to the state of Israel to be dropped on the Gaza Strip right from day 2 of this war. And Israel has the backing of the superpowers. Now, there is an unconditional backing that the United States has offered to the Israelis to go do what they deem fit. American warships have arrived in Israel, so have aircraft carriers, and reportedly $2 billion worth of ammunition is what the Americans have now pumped in and handed over to the Israelis. The United Kingdom, France, Germany and Italy have also backed Israel to the hilt. The Israeli military has called up 360,000 soldiers and reservists, and it is adding to about the 170,000 strong standing army that it has. On the other hand, Hamas is said to have about 16,000 armed fighters. Armed with light weapons, who are expected to fight off Israeli forces. There could be another 6,000 Islamic Jihad militants who are also expected to join in as and when this ground incursion happens. Hamas fighters are perhaps at this moment prepared with their light weaponry for this invasion that is likely to happen. And remember, they do not have any other source of defending themselves at this moment. Now, this kind of a ratio or a comparison of weapons gives the Israeli Defense Forces an overwhelming advantage. They completely can capture the area of the Gaza Strip, but the militant group has one very unusual asset, and they have a network of some tunnels that Hamas fighters can, of course, use. Hamas has long been ready for an Israeli incursion. It has dug up some sophisticated network of tunnels across the Gaza Strip that are intended to allow its forces to survive aerial bombardment. But the question, of course, is, can Hamas now deter off the Israeli incursion with some weapons that they may have? The heavily urbanized terrain of Gaza Strip, which is one of the world's most densely populated areas, this is going to be an extremely difficult fight for the Hamas fighters, and it remains to be seen as to how many civilians are still left there, because at this moment, according to the United Nations, more than 1 million Palestinians in the Gaza Strip have been internally displaced. Now, some things which Israel would be wary of is the use of drones by Hamas, a tactic that has been witnessed extensively in the Russia-Ukraine war, where drones are being used to drop ammunition on tanks. This is something that Hamas fighters could, of course, deploy. This is something that they did on the 7th of October. The Israelis know this. The Hamas fighters, of course, know this. But the question, of course, is, does Hamas have anti-tank weapons? Then the entire scenario changes if they do. Because the talk is that Hamas may have used certain anti-tank weapons in capturing or destroying some of the tanks when they launched their incursion on the 7th of October. Although Israel has been planning, the idea is looking to try and gain control of the tunnel entrances. It is more likely to mine them than try and enter them. But without full control of the subterranean network where Hamas command posts are likely to be based, any military control of the northern Gaza will be extremely insecure for the state of Israel. Moreover, by Thursday, Israel's Air Force had said that it had dropped more than 6,000 bombs on Hamas targets. It has resulted in entire neighborhoods in places such as Rimal in the Gaza city being razed to the ground. To give you a perspective, the bombs dropped by Israel are nearly equivalent to the most bombs that were dropped in a year by the NATO forces in Afghanistan. That is the scale of this relentless bombing campaign that the Israelis have resorted to. So with the ground offensive being imminent, the near certain reality is that it is going to be extremely bloody, with enormous number of civilians getting killed as collateral. International support for the state of Israel in what it is doing is almost unflinching. The United States, backed with its European allies, have said that Israel has the right to defend itself. But the question, of course, is Israel just defending itself, or has it gone well and beyond that? Because the Chinese now clearly think that the Israelis have crossed the line of defending themselves. There are 2.3 million civilians who are trying to run for their lives. Many of them are leaving on their foot. They are carrying nothing more than the clothes that they have on their back. They don't have access to food, electricity, shelter, and in many cases, even internet services are off. The question of what Israel's medium-term strategy will be, is it to seize the territory of the northern half of Gaza, is something that we will get to know. But Israel has indicated that it wants to drive everyone out of the northern part of Gaza and take control of the territory. WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.